Hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, and welcome. It's Nurse Richard the Wax Wizard. Thank you for joining me for this very difficult procedure. This was a toughie. I have seen this gentleman before. If you want to find the video, I think it's called eardrum peel. What number was it? Number 219 it was. If you want to go and search for that, feel free. Now, it wasn't as full. It was only 3 months ago, believe it or not. I was quite shocked. I generally see him every 6 months or so. And the same thing happens every single time, where you have a look at this and you think, well, that's not too difficult. Bit of dark wax there, and comes out relatively straightforward. But then what happens is he gets this thick layer of dead skin that's failed to migrate out of the ear. But the bigger problem is it gets stuck onto his eardrum every single time, and it's so difficult to remove. When I see his name pop up, I'm not going to lie, my heart sinks a little bit. He's a nice fella, don't get me wrong, but his ear is always very difficult to do. You'll see why in a minute. It does get clearer after this, after we get the more lateral stuff out there. And here we go, we're going in, excuse me, going inside the ear now, and you can just see this really thick layer. And I've already put some oil in, and just from experience from seeing him a few times now, I know that it's not going to come away very easily unless you really oil it well when you get to this stage. Otherwise, it's just not going to peel off the ear canal. I know a lot of you like peeling. There's a fair amount of it here, and especially off the eardrum. And it's really satisfying how it comes out as well. I think you're going to really enjoy it. But you're going to have to persevere for a few minutes until we get to that point. But we're still saying Rome wasn't built in a day. But you can see it's already peeling away really nicely. Now, I do ask him to oil it before it comes. I don't think he always does, because it often, as it often does when people put oil in their ears, it makes it feel worse, because the what's in there, it will absorb. Sorry, what's in there, it will absorb. The oil kind of swell up a little bit, make it bigger, and make it feel even more blocked than it already is. So whilst I tell people it can help a couple of days of oil before you come, that's not necessarily the case for everybody, because everybody has different consistencies of earwax. Some is quite wet, some is very dry, so some it can help, some it can make worse. So I tend not to advise people to use oil before they come, because on the off chance that it's already this wet and sloppy, slimy stuff, that this isn't, it can just turn it into mush. And as you know, those are very difficult to remove as well. So my advice generally is not to bother. If I think it needs oil, I'll use it during the procedure, which is what we did in this gentleman's ear a few times, I seem to remember. Because this is the frustrating thing about this one. It, whilst it is these very thick layers of dead skin, it's very dry and quite brittle as well, so it doesn't tend to stay in one piece. The last bit did at the end, like I said, so stay tuned for that. But before you get to that point, you have these thick layers here that kind of comes away like cornflakes. Sorry if anyone's just having the breakfast or just had it or thinking about having cornflakes. But it's exactly what it looks like. It looks like cornflakes. In fact, he might have even appeared in the video in the early days saying cornflake out the ear. Because the first time I saw it, I thought, oh, it looks like cornflakes. Again, I think I've put even more oil in now, just getting the stuff that's a bit more lateral towards the outside, and continue to work our way closer and closer to the eardrum, which, as you can see in the distance, is just covered. It's just covered with the skin that's failed to migrate off the eardrum. And for 3 months, quite surprising, some reason it's decided to speed up a little bit this time. For what reason, I'm not entirely sure. It's what day is it? It's Tuesday today. I have to think about it then. And we've just had a bank holiday weekend in the UK, which is always nice, having a long weekend. Having another long weekend this weekend. But bank holiday weekend, especially this time of year, which is late spring, early summer, whatever you're going to call it, it's May, so somebody will correct me on that, is in our house anyway, certainly for me, it's always spent in the garden. Now, I'm not going to lie, I hate gardening, but unfortunately we decided to buy a house with quite a large garden, for UK standards anyway. A lot of them in it's not a particularly built up area. I think the house that we have, I think it's a former show house of the estate. So they always get the biggest the biggest garden with that. And yeah, we foolishly decided to buy it. It wraps around 3 sides of it, and there's so much to do. It's nice having all the space, but it's a right pain in the neck, I'm not going to lie, most of the time. So I've spent most of my time, in fact I spent a lot of time this weekend trying to fix my lawnmower because it broke on me. I did have one of these battery powered ones, but I had to charge it up like about 3-4 times for it to get around the whole thing. So I decided to bite the bullet and buy myself one of those expensive petrol ones that pushes itself, making it future proof, you know, for when I get too old and decrepit. It's not a sit on one. I did consider getting one of them, but they're not cheap either. So I'm going to give that a go. Now, you know, you're getting a bit middle-aged, especially as a man. I know a lot of them take pride in their own lawns, don't they? And I think I spent an extra 200 quid so I could get one that just did that made stripes as well. There's always a sense of pride. Look at mine when people are walking past your house. Ooh, look at that one. He's got some lovely stripes on there. I was saying around here, it's like Wembley. It's like Wembley Stadium, isn't it? Look at that lawn he's got with them beautiful stripes on. So I'm going to give that a try later on. A lot of planting. My sister's a very keen gardener, so we never need to buy any plants, thankfully. She grows hers in her house. She's got an extremely big garden. She's got her own forest as well, believe it or not. But she's a very keen gardener. She lives in the south of Scotland, and a garden. It's actually it's like, you know, you have like stately homes and what have you, and you those of you in America, you won't know, you won't understand this, but I'll tell you. In each stately home, you usually have what's called a walled garden, especially if they were built in the Victorian period, where you get really high, like 10 feet brick wall, vary in sizes. It's about 100 metres by 100 metres. It's a big area, and that's where the stately homes used to grow their vegetables and produce and crops. And they used to build these huge big walls around it. Nearly every stately home has one. But my sister's house, they built a house inside this walled garden, and so she grows everything there. I always said she'd be very safe if there was a zombie apocalypse, because none of them would be able to get in. So I've been planting all her plants. Have a look how this thing comes out. It's absolutely beautiful. Have a look at it peeling away. And it's just been a little bit stubborn there, all fine and tube, obviously this. So I'm just trying to get that flat surface then, but look at this. It's so nice when this happens, and you don't have to maul around on the eardrum that for too long, because it's very dangerous stuff, you know, sticking little steel rods near someone's eardrum. So the shorter time you can spend down there, the better. But that came away so nicely, and it was after that bit that he could hear a lot better. It was instant, and it's left the eardrum. Still, it's a little bit soggy. Maybe if you like wet dead skin on that. I'm not mauling around with that any more than I need to. Bit of oil down there, and I said, you know what, I've decided to leave that down there because I've told him that I think he needs regular oil to maybe help to encourage that skin to leave the ear anyway, and see if that helps, see if that buys him a bit more time. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that, but for now, take care of yourself, and I'll see you soon. Ta-da!